video is not intended for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Before we get to me wishing each and every one of you a good morning, I have got something to share with everyone really quick before I bring my guest on and before I say my good mornings. Robert Pearson, thank you so very much, guys. If you can look at your screen, I know a lot of people just listen, but Robert Pearson, I got something in the mail on Friday. And when I opened the box, it did not have a name inside, but it had this along with a bone shot glass. And I got a message later that day on Friday from Mark the Infinitely Tired saying, I am asking for a friend of a friend if you got something in the mail. And I was like, holy shit, dude, that was you. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. And he goes, no, it wasn't me. And I'm like, yeah, it was you. You're the only one messaging me, asking me if I got something in the mail, right? And it wasn't him. It was Rob. And I want to tell Rob, thank you so very much, brother. I now have the ultimate drinking horn with a wolf on it to drink and say, Skol in the morning. Thank you so very much, Rob. Brother, that was too kind, man. I want you to know how much I appreciate that. I sit here with just a regular old cup in the morning, and now I can sit here in style and drink from a drinking horn with a wolf on it. You guys know how much I love wolves and dragons. So, brother, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. And dude, that was too much, man. Too much. Thank you so very much, brother. Thank you. I mean, that means everything to me, guys. That means absolutely everything to me. Thank you, Rob. Cheers, brother. And Skol! So my guest today, I'd like to bring in, you all know her. She is absolutely awesome. She knows her shit, and she is here with us this morning. Lady Gravemaster. Hello, Lady Gravemaster.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing all right. How are you doing?
Oh, not bad. Not bad. Just another day, another 25 cents.
Indeed. And you know what? We were both talking about what is going on with Dynomite for the past couple of days.
Yes, they have sowed the seeds of their own destruction.
Yes, they have.
It's just really sad to see when I think the biggest hurt for especially tried and true decades-long comic book fans, because you know that the people complaining about this aren't the people buying the product. And so the real customers have been rejected for like the cool kids table, for lack of a better analogy.
Yes, and just to emphasize what Lady Gravemaster is saying, this is from Kwanzaa, who started all this. Kwanzaa is a writer, a black writer for Batman, for DC Comics, for Batman. And they wrote, I'm only saying this once, everyone in the comics industry who Ben knew, that's not me saying that wrong, who Ben knew that Dynomite Entertainment is supporting Comicsgate needs to stop with the back channel blind eye fence sitting bullshit because of association with Nick Barucki or checks from this publisher. The women, BIPOC and LGBTQIA, they just keep adding on to that shit. In comics, who they target don't get to choose. We've been harassed, threatened, and doxxed by and because of these motherfuckers who Dynomite is now blatantly promoting because of no backlash. There is absolutely no evidence of this. They provide absolutely no evidence of this. It's accusation after accusation, which is too many of y'all being mad, quiet, acting funny, and confused. Some think it's about fucking politics. Others have a project with Dynomite and don't want to fuck with your money. Some of y'all secretly agree with these scumbags. But fuck that, and honestly, fuck you. The people these assholes have harassed for years, which absolutely no proof. They provide absolutely no proof of this.
Nope.
Supposed to be your colleagues and friends, but y'all ain't got shit to say now. Y'all all making fucking declarations to not be sexual predators, blacking out your fucking profile pics, but you know for a fact that Nick Barucki is working to legitimize a hate group. Fucking silent. And this goes on and on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to show you guys that real quick to prove that this is where all of this started. This entire fucking mess started with Breonna Taylor's murderers must go to jail at Kwanzaa. And Kwanzaa is, like I said, a writer for Batman, and has just thrown this out there and started this war. And this is a war that's been going on, guys. This isn't just DC. This isn't just Dynomite. It's not just DC. It's not just Marvel. It's not just movies. It's not just Hollywood. This is one battle in a giant war.
Yep. And it reminds me sort of when guerrilla tactics were introduced to, Civil War. They started using the terrain the Revolution, not the Civil War. The Revolution, they used the terrain and the land against the British soldiers. And the British soldiers didn't know what to do because it had been rank and file fighting for so long. And this has become a one-sided war because these people, I mean, that amount of hatred in those tweets shows two things. One, they are legitimately threatened because, I mean, Ethan Van Sciver racked in $2 million last year. On Wreck Planet, he's over $1 million for this campaign. So there is money in comics. It's there to be had if you have a good product, if there is something that excites people. It's there. There is potential there. But the comic industry has been dying. That's why they have to include manga and scholastics and all this other stuff in their counts. And so it's been a one-sided war for so long. And now that people are going out on their own, people are trying to attack the creators that have figured out a way to go around their little whisper network and the publishers and everything like that, because that is a true threat to what they have. They're losing power and they're panicking.
Yeah, and you brought up EBS. To me, I don't always agree with EBS, but EBS, I believe, is the reluctant person we need leading this fight as far as comics go. If he's got the money to have his own publishing house, I believe that's the answer to this. You get all these people that are being shit on, and they have great work. If you have talent, EBS will work with you. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about your beliefs. He doesn't care about any of that shit. All he cares about is whether you can draw or write good stories.
Exactly. And that is something that all these other publishers have completely forgotten about, because they think that they've reached a certain point of, it's almost like when someone who's been working their whole life becomes independently wealthy. And I don't mean that they're no longer bringing in an income. I mean that they've reached a certain point that they're no longer worried about certain things, so they feel more free to say certain things or do certain things without repercussions being too severe. And it seems like, which is an illusion, by the way, and this is the same illusion that's been embraced by Hollywood, by the publishing companies, all of it. They think that they've reached this certain moral hierarchy and monetary hierarchy that they can now dictate to us who we should be and who we should think like and who we should emulate and what morals we should have. And if we disagree with that, then we're wrong because they're the one with the platform, which isn't how it works.
No, it's not. And to be told this is what you have to believe to have this job, that goes against everything it means to be an American, to be free anywhere in the world. If you were supposed to be free and you have the right, freedom of speech, you have the right to believe what you want to believe.
Absolutely.
And I will fight to the death for that. I will. That's why I put that message up at the very beginning of the opening of the show, guys, because it doesn't matter what you believe. If you have the right to believe that, then you have the right to believe that. Your job, your security, your livelihood should not depend on having to believe a modus operandi.
Nope. But that's where we've arrived at, because I mean, the Matrix pretty much nailed it succinctly. We need conflict, and when we don't have it, we're going to create it. But there's productive conflict. I mean, it's hard going to work every single day and, being consistent and consistently delivering on not just what the basic standard is, but continually trying to go above and beyond to make self-improvement, but also the value that you're adding to whatever industry you're a part of. And that's something that people have forgotten. Mediocrity has become acceptable. I mean, and for anybody that appreciates CalArt style, that is completely 100% your decision. If you love it, good on you. I hate CalArt style. It is just completely lazy to me. I look at G.I. Joe and She-Ra and Teenage Mutant Ninja, the good 80s and 90s cartoons, Batman, Superman, all those cartoons. And then I look at the stuff that is coming out now, like the She-Ra remake was, in my opinion, lazy artwork as well.
Yep.
The Thundercats remake was terrible.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But we're being told that this is exceptional work. We're being told that, this is what we want to see, or what the industry wants to see, because this is what they believe their consumers need, not what their consumers want. And I say consumers because that's how they view everybody. They don't see us as fans or customers. They're like, you will eat what we give you and you will shut up about it. And I'm not okay with that.
No, and you brought up Thundercats. I want to make a small point. Did you watch the first reboot?
Yes. The one back in 2011, I think.
Yes, I shared that with my kids, and I absolutely loved the way they made them look. I loved it. I loved the art style in that. And then they come out with something like this, and I'm like, guys, do you know you went from one end of the spectrum all the way back to the, like, it just looks like shit.
It does. It's so bad. It really is. And I am by no means any kind of artist, but I'm teaching myself to draw. And it's been challenging, especially because, what's the first thing that just about everybody does? You go to YouTube and you type in how to, because there's videos for everything. So I typed in how to draw superheroes. First thing that comes up is CalArt style for like the first 4 videos. And I was like, this isn't going to work because I don't want that.
No. And I said something not too long ago about the way Lower Decks looked. And I was told oh, I must not like what is it? It's the Back to the Future kind of thing. Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. Yep.
No, I love Rick and Morty. I don't like this. Oh, well, it's the same thing. No, Rick and Morty is Rick and Morty. Star Trek should not be trying to look like Rick and Morty or anything else. Star Trek should look like Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be copying anything else. That's the problem, is that they're copying this and they're copying that and they're using this from this. They should be leading the charge, not copying everybody else.
Exactly. That was one of the things that we love about by the way, thank you, Iron Man. That was very sweet. But that's one of the things that we love about Star Trek. It was always ahead of everybody else. People, whether they wanted to or not, ended up emulating something from Star Trek, whether it was, it was the first interracial kiss on screen. It was, and we're just going to check the boxes like they do, I suppose, but they had intriguing, dynamic female characters. You had, going off into space, meeting these alien races. It was a perfect marrying of masculinity, adventure, femininity, scientific exploration. It was fabulous to watch because not only was it episodic, so you never really knew what you were going to get, but you always knew it was going to be something exciting and new, and that whatever the problem was, they would work together to find a way either to improve the situation or get out of the situation.
Yeah. And Eris of Chaos brings up an interesting aspect of this. The participation generation, maybe it's equally the fault of those who raised the participation generation and were in charge of giving out those trophies. It is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely part of that. And one of my kids played soccer, and she came up after a game once and she was almost in tears. And I was like, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I wanted to win the game because they lost." And I said, "Did you play your heart out? Did you play with everything you had?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Then you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You by yourself cannot win a game. You're on a team. If you gave everything you've got, then there's nothing to worry about." Does that mean they should get a trophy for participating? They should get a trophy for playing their heart out if they give everything they got.
Exactly. Nope. And it's interesting to think about because, the participation trophy idea was, oh, we don't want to hurt their feelings. We want everyone to know that they still matter, that just because you lose doesn't make you a loser. And instead of taking what had been taught in sports forever, just because your team loses does not make you individually a loser. It means that you have areas that you can improve on. And you know what? Sometimes, luck has a lot to do with it in a lot of sports too. Because sometimes you really do get lucky. But the fact is that this was an opportunity to teach when you come up short somewhere, you know where you need to focus on. Work on it, come back stronger next year, and then you can be the one who's in charge or the winner or the victor. Because I had a basketball coach tell me he kicked the most talented girl off of the team because the basketball season in high school had a 2-week break for Christmas. And we came back and she was slow and she was podgy and she just wasn't like 100% there. So he kicked her off the team until she could get back to where she needed to be. And he looked at all of us and he said, hard work without talent will beat talent without hard work every time. And that just sticks with you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many baskets you can, it doesn't matter how many baskets you can sink. If you're not willing to put in the work, that talent is only going to get you so far.
And DJ Odyssey just tipped $4.99. Thank you so much. Do you want to do this with me, Lady Gravemaster?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Score!
There it is. Take your hat off, boy. That's a $1 bill.
DJ DJ Odyssey says, just a little something for you being you and being a friend. Thank you so very much, DJ. You guys keep the lights burning here in Valhalla. Thank you, brother. Thank you so very much, brother. When I was a kid, I had problems with math. I'll freely admit that. When I was a little kid, I think I was in the 3rd grade, and I had a lot of trouble figuring out multiplication and division. And I had a teacher that set aside an hour after school was over to work with me. And that teacher taught me how to do everything in my head.
That's amazing.
And like the nines, like how to multiply by 90, all these little tricks to teach me different ways to multiply and divide. And when I got to middle school, suddenly it was half of your grade is dependent on showing how you got your answer. And I was like, what? Because he taught me how to do it in my head. His name was Mr. Smith. He was an absolutely wonderful teacher. And obviously, because I actually remember his name.
Yeah.
But half of the grade dependent on showing your work. So whether you got the problem right or not, or right or wrong, it didn't matter. As long as you showed your grade or showed your work, you got half the credit for that. And they still do that now.
Yeah.
And to me, that's kind of a problem. We were doing a movie thing the other day. I can't remember whether it was on my channel, somebody else's. It may have been on Eris of Chaos's channel, where we were talking about Apollo 13 and how they dumped a box of stuff on a table and said, okay, this is what they have. Figure it out.
Yep.
Well, if you have to follow steps to get an answer, that's your hands tied behind your back.
Agreed. It's especially when it's a specific set of answers, like they're expecting you to do one way, and there's not one way to do math. There's not one way to live life. There's not one way to write. There's not one way to draw. Everybody arrives at the same well, not the same conclusion, but everybody arrives at conclusions differently, even if it is the same one. And that's terrible. That's part of the reason I hate Common Core. It's such a absolute joke and waste. It's absolutely insane.
And Nina Green, you are correct. My father was a history professor for almost 20 years. And yes, they are told how to teach. They are told this is the way you have to do it. You have to follow this rule set. I agree. But having that rule set is screwing everything up.
Absolutely.
And Colin P. Smith, that never occurred to me before. I always thought of showing your work to be proof you know how to do it. But there are multiple ways to get an answer. That's the problem. And if they make you do it one way and only one way, then how are you ever supposed to be inventive? Yep. How are you ever supposed to go outside of the box to get an answer?
But that's the perfect analogy for life today. I mean, they don't want you outside the box. They want you firmly inside their box, in their lines, coloring with the colors they give you, putting in the equations that they hand you the way that they want you to do them, because when you step outside that box, you become a threat. And no, I'm not saying obviously your math teacher didn't view you as a threat personally, but the comics industry, why do you think they hate Comicsgate? Comicsgate is being successful even with the quarrels and whatnot that I've seen happen. Comicsgate overall has still been successful. And as long as you're not backstabbing each other, I mean, they have a real shot at being what the comic industry should still be and used to be. Comics were never for the people who had everything handed to them, really. I'm not saying that those people can't read comics, but, you know, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman, these are all characters who develop and grow and they overcome hardships. And, you know, I remember thinking that I could be Hawk Girl or Wonder Woman or Supergirl. And, you know, you see what these characters are doing and you're like, man, that's so amazing. It inspires you to seek out your passion, whether it's writing, whether it's drawing comics or animation for different cartoons. Maybe you just want to enjoy your life reviewing things and give different kinds of analogies on things. Be the next Siskel and Ebert. But when you get stuck inside someone else's box, that's where depression comes from. Everybody has to sacrifice to get most people have to sacrifice to get somewhere in this world. And, you're not always going to get to do what you want to do, but by God, as long as you're working every day to get where you want to be, you have a goal, which gives you passion, which gives you purpose, which means you're less likely to fall into these traps.
I completely agree with that. And I've fallen into that. I've fallen into that myself. I had a lot of downtime for a while, and I know exactly what you mean. If you don't have something to strive for, then you stagnate as a human being, and so does society. Society is exactly the same way.
Absolutely. And that's, you can see it today. Look at how hard the country was already, there was already debates and struggles going on, but then this shutdown happened, and suddenly you've cut off half the country from work, from a daily purpose, from income. All of these things pile up. And I'm sorry, I understand the idea behind the $1,200, but that helped people who were single for maybe 2 months. That helped married couples for maybe a month. Businesses, that it was a flat joke for some of these small businesses. I have several mom and pop shops who they are never going to open again because the PPP ran out. They have nothing. There's nothing left.
Yeah, and that's the same here. I live in a tourist trap, and a lot of places are not ever going to reopen. They've either closed their doors or they've sold it.
Yeah, you have to. And it's just, when you see how important, and this has been what ended up happening. This crash, this situation was building up, but the shutdown sort of made it all just concave on itself. And do you want to hit Josh and Rebecca's point? Because that's a really good one.
Yeah, EVS, Billy Tucci, John Malin were all former pros, so the mainstream tolerated them. Cecil proves anyone can have a successful campaign when you have enough passion. That's why they hate him so much. And I completely agree with that.
Yes, 100%.
And they tried the same shit with Anna.
Oh, God, that was terrible.
Yeah.
I can't believe people went after her after the death of her sister. I'm sorry. If you're going after deceased family members as some sort of gotcha, you are a terrible person and need to reevaluate your priorities and your soul, because there's a big black spot in it. That is absolutely disgusting.
They'll go after anything. Any opening they have, they will go after it. They do not care what it is. And they point their fingers at us and call us horrible people.
Yep. And why? Because we want, I'm not going to speak for every woman on the planet, obviously, but I am going to speak for myself as a woman. Extraction had 99 million people watch it. I love watching films with masculine MacGyver type men who get in there, get their hands dirty, and are fighting for something that they believe in, or some sort of moral high ground or moral duty. Whether it's, 300 was amazing. They were fighting for their home. You were rooting for the Spartans, who were, bloodthirsty, just absolute badasses when it came to war of any kind. They could crush pretty much anyone, but you rooted for them, not because of just who they were, but they took everything that they knew and everything that they had to fight for their home, for what they loved. Those are the kinds of things that I love to watch. Those are the sort of things that I will go to the theater for. If you put Aliens back up on the screen, we have a movie theater who is showing there's Aliens. They had the Indiana Jones trilogy. They didn't play the fourth one. But they were showing all these classic films. That movie theater raked in the dough because this is all stuff people love and want to see. There's nothing new coming out. And even if there was, I mean, the movie theater business has been in decline because there's nothing worth going to see.
No, that's true. And I went and saw opening night Alien 4K. It was Alien, the anniversary of Alien in 4K at Alamo, the Alamo Cinema. And it was completely packed. Every seat was full. And I wanted to go see it again. Completely sold out that whole week. Every screening that they had for that week was gone, and it was gone after that. So I got to see it once. I got to see it opening night for the anniversary. But when I wanted to go back and see it again, not happening.
They said, nope. No, but that should be the 99 million people tuning in to watch Extraction. The people going, these theaters that are selling out for classic action and sci-fi films, fantasy films. We had a Lord of the Rings trilogy at that same theater. They had it in there the whole week, and it was sold out. People wanted to go see that, and it should be a wake-up call to anybody who is a studio exec or works in the comic industry that people are telling you with their wallets what they want.
That's right. And I went and saw it again. I went and saw the entire extended trilogy. It was an all-day event, and they had like a half hour between each movie, but it was the extended trilogy, completely sold out, I think 3 days. And yeah, it's you're talking about a movie that had been out for, I think, 10 years at the time, a trilogy that had been out for 10 years, 3 days, completely sold out.
There you go. That's awesome. I personally love Lord of the Rings. I will watch it forever. But that could just be me.
No, it's not just you. And Chris Prsa comments, they targeted Cecil because he proves that capitalism works. If you have a great idea, you can make it. America is still the land of opportunity, which runs counter to the SJW mantra. Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
And 24/7, the SJWs will undermine and attack the fabric of your morality, destroy you from within, and stop what you stand for just for cancel culture. And I completely agree with that too.
Yeah, because they don't understand that they get that just it's easy to use buzzwords and to say, oh, you're a racist, you're a phobe, you're a ist, whatever ist or phobe or whatever they want to throw at you, and then they're like, well, because it's my opinion, it's subjective, but you're objecting to, they pull the methinks the lady doth protest too much line, and you're like, oh, well, if you really weren't, why don't you prove it? Be like, that's not how it works. You made the accusation, burden of proof is on you.
That's right.
For some reason, we've turned into a guilty until proven innocent country, and that's just absolutely asinine. It doesn't matter what you say or what you do if it doesn't work within their narrative. They have approached this with a preconceived narrative, and they will do everything they can to make all of what they perceive fit into that narrative. Because if it doesn't, then their entire worldview shatters and they can't handle that.
Do you think this is all tied to socialism?
Yes and no. And here's why. I say yes because the ideas that they're espousing are 100% socialism, whether they recognize it or not. That is the idealism, that is the logic, that is everything that they're espousing. But you and I both know that socialism can't live without, it's a virus. It can't live without a host. So what ended up happening was it infected capitalism. And they started saying, oh, I mean, you've heard this before. It's the freedom, like you look at freedom index, but it's the social programs in capitalism need to work. And that's what our taxes go to. And this is this is for the good of the people. When in reality, when you look at everything, these are the same people saying eat the rich, and the rich paid 98% of the taxes in this country. So all those social programs that they hearken as, the saving grace and for the good of the people, those are all paid for by the wealthy who got wealthy through capitalism. And so if people don't, this swings back around to Dynomite. When people, I'll quote when people bend the knee, they get their heads chopped off.
Yep.
If someone would just say no, look at what happened to Goya. Red Bull too, they just fired 2 woke diversity directors because they were like, oh, well, you need to make a pledge to BLM. And Red Bull said, no, that's not our customer base. We're for everyone. We're not for this specific ideology. And they fired those 2. I mean, these 2 companies have said, no, their stocks, their everything. Goya's sold out in my store. Like all 3 stores that I have, the 2 county markets and the Walmart, everything sold out. All of Goya, bye-bye, because they said no. And people supported that because people are tired of this. They are so done.
No, I completely agree. And it reminds me of an old saying that my father used to say all the time. And that was, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
You have to protect the rights of the people, and if you don't, the people will stand up and protect it themselves.
Yep.
Whether they have weapons or not, they will stand up and protect it themselves.
Absolutely. And it's getting to that. I mean, it's getting to that point. We've seen what happens when, these people, they don't care. They don't care what or who they're destroying. I mean, it's come to the point where the people who, this is a majority of America, I think we can all agree. The people who don't want to fight are going to have to start fighting if this continues the path that it's going down. And it doesn't look like anything's going to change because, whether you love or hate your governors, your mayors, the president, I mean, you can't rely on the government to do exactly what you expect it to do, especially if you don't vote. But that aside, you've got Border Patrol in there in Portland arresting people, and now people are losing their mind. When a week ago they were begging for the federal government to step in and do something because the state government wouldn't. You can't have it both ways. Either you stand up and fight for yourself and do everything within the legal system that already exists. If you have the ability to recall your leaders because they're not doing what you elected them to do, pull them out, do it. If not, if you don't have that option, remember that when the next election cycle comes around. But in the meantime, there is no reason why you can't, stand up and say no. There's no reason why you can't go to these city council meetings and get involved. That's the problem. We've outsourced everything. We've landed where we are because parents, and not all parents have outsourced the raising of their kids to daycares and schools. Anything that the values that they're getting and they're espousing, they come from the schools. They don't generally come from the parents. We've outsourced our family dinners. I mean, it's so much easier to just go into a drive-through, pick something up, take it home, and now you have a generation and a half of kids who don't know how to cook. They don't realize that you can take flour, yeast, water, butter, oats, and put them together, let the dough rise, put it in let the dough rise, put it in the oven, cook it, and now you have a loaf of bread. These people, they don't realize how much value they're stealing from their own children by outsourcing everything. Entertainment has been outsourced. When was the last time that families, family game night isn't really a huge thing anymore that gets promoted, especially in mainstream media. They want to destroy the nuclear family. Single parenting is great. Single parenting is fine. Don't judge. It's not that we're judging. It's just that the studies have proven that when you have a strong family, you have you're less likely to go in a lot of bad places. And it's just terrifying to see how much we've outsourced our food, our entertainment, our morals, our ethics, all of it. It's just been outsourced.
And this is just one aspect of this, guys. This cancel culture war. And that's what it is. As Lady Gravemaster said, it is infecting everything. And you can either stand up and stand against it, or you can bend the knee and do what Dynomite did and drink that blue titty milk. I said that yesterday. That's exactly what they want you to do. Is they want you beating off that teat.
Mm-hmm.
And you can either say, no, ain't going to happen, and do it your way, or be a sheep and follow along and do it the way they want you to do it.
Exactly. And I saw Captain Trek's comment where when both parents have to work, there isn't a choice. If I may do a caveat to that, Captain Trek, you're right. There is a lot of two-parent households where both parents work. My household is one of them. But is there a reason that one of you can't work nights and one of you can't work days? Or is there a reason why maybe charter schools or private school isn't an option? Or if you have to leave them with a daycare, childcare is expensive no matter where you go. And so, what are you doing your research on the daycare? Is it espousing the same values that you want? And, those are things that you can look up. And I agree, one income can't support a family anymore. And that has a lot to do, with the fact that there's now a surplus of available labor. And, we have a very, especially now, job opportunities are really sparse. It's hard. I completely understand that. Like I said, I'm in a very similar situation. I'm currently working 3 jobs, so I 110% get that. I really do. But there are certain things that if you put in the time and you put in the effort and you don't just go, well, this is just the way things have to be. I mean, we all get to that point where it's like, this is how it has to be for now, but you should always be striving for and looking for ways to work around it. And, if one income can't support it and you want to be around your kid, you want to have, especially in early child development years. My sister, because she didn't want to leave her kid, she opened up a daycare of her own. I know that that's not practical for everybody, but that was her workaround. She didn't agree with anything that the daycares in town were teaching or espousing. And she said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this. And she went and did it.
And yes, Pudgy, you can still be a hedgehog. I was explaining to one of my kiddos that when I was in my late 20s and early 30s, I was working a 60-hour-a-week job. I was going to college and doing a class load and a half, and managed to get my degree. And had a new baby. Me and my ex-wife had just had a new baby. And I was the only one bringing in income. That's the way life is. When you have to work hard and you want to get ahead, you put the time in. I hated that I couldn't come home and just hang out with my baby. I hated that I couldn't hang out with my little girl. I had to come home, eat, go right into the study and study.
Mm-hmm.
There were times that I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning and into work at 5:30 because I had to finish homework. I basically had to finish anything I had for the next day. And if I was up till 1, if I was up till midnight, if I was up till whenever, I did it. And she was asking me, well, why do I have to go to school and have a part-time job? Why do I have to go to college and have a part-time job? And I explained that. And I was in my late 20s and my early 30s. I was tired. I was tired then. I was more tired then than I am now, but I did it because I wanted something for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that degree and I wanted to use that I got a degree in psychology. I wanted to do chemical dependency counseling and help people with drug addiction. That's what I wanted to do. And I worked hard for it. That's what you have to do, is work hard. It's the laziness that I see that is absolutely abhorrent. And Cecil works hard. Yeah. Cecil has worked hard to get where he is, and he's an everyday guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I say Cecil. A lot of people corrected me yesterday and said it's Cecil. Cecil's the same thing.
We know what you mean.
Like Adega and Adega. But what happened to you work hard and you get to where you're at? Now it's not you work hard and get to where you're at. Now it is you have to follow this rule and we'll give you something.
Do you want to know why that is? As someone who recently went through this insanity that is the higher education system, I was in a very similar situation as you. I was working 3 jobs. I took on a class load and a half. I was taking the max that they allow without requesting a consideration from the dean of the college is 21 credits. I was taking 24 or 27 credits so I could get my degree in 3 years instead of 5.
Yeah.
Because I knew that if it drug on, well, like if you can just nose to the grindstone, I mean, that is what you have to like, if you can just push through the pain and the 10 layers of crap that you have to go through to get what you need to start working towards your goals, do it. I mean, and do it as hard and as fast as you can. Like you said, you were up till 1 a.m. studying and then 5 a.m. into work. You have to do this, because if you don't, all you're doing is delaying your own future. You are setting yourself up for failure. And, you know, yeah, of course I was tired. I didn't have one. I had 4 kids, not one like you, Loki. So it was extra painful because my older ones wanted to play. The younger ones needed attention. And thank God for my husband, because, you know, it would have just been the teamwork makes the dream work. Let me tell you.
Yes, it does.
So now he's getting his degree. And that's just what we had to do. We couldn't both get our degree at the same time. We sat down, we looked at it, we were practical about it. There was no way we could both get our degree at the same time. So that was another motivator for me. I wanted him to be able to follow through with his dreams and his goals so that he had that same passion and that same desire. So now he is doing what I was just doing. And this idea that hard work, if you just put in the effort, you'll get somewhere, like you will get where you want and need to go someday. Someday isn't good enough for these people. It has to be today or it's not worth it. That's why these people don't stay in jobs for longer than 6 to 8 months. They get bored. That's of the interviews that I have done. Why were you only at this position for 9 months and this position for 6, and then you went to this position for 10 months before you applied for this one? Well, I just got bored.
That's insane.
That's insane to me. Exactly. They walk into a minimum wage job and think that in a year and a half they're going to be a manager. Now, if you work your ass off, that is completely possible. It really is. My uncle's aunt, she started working a minimum wage job at a McDonald's and she now owns 5 of them.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it's completely possible. Like, if you put in the work, you put in the effort, you strive, and you don't quit, because if you quit, you have to start all the way back over. And if that isn't discouraging enough to be a motivator to not quit, I can't help you. Because if you are content with consistently starting over at the bottom because you got bored, not because your industry fell through, not because the oil industry shut down, it has nothing to do with that. Oh yeah, Broken Entertainment. You'd be amazed what people say in interviews. It's insane. And when I went through one of my management classes in school, we had, granted, I had almost a decade on just about everybody sitting in that classroom. And this one student, I will never forget, she asked, "Don't I get promoted because I'm a girl?"
Oh,
that's
wow.
Literally what she had been taught, that if it came down to the wire and it was her and a guy and they had the exact same qualifications, exact same experience, like they were on that same level, she would get the job over him because she was a woman. And my professor said, yes, that is correct. So if you all think that this is not something that, and I live in a very conservative part of the country. Now, of course, my professor went on to say that that is a questionable business ethic to follow, because you are legitimately violating a Title VII, Title IX rule there. Like, it should never come down to gender or race, because those two things specifically are violations of Title VII and Title IX. But
No,
that
go ahead. Sorry.
That's fine. That's what this girl thought. She thought that if she went in and she got a job, she would get hired over her male peers simply because she was a girl. She would get promoted over them because she was a girl.
I saw an ad it was on YouTube too. It was before I was watching somebody's video and this ad pops up. Everybody knows, you get the ads, and it was a woman in the workplace, and she's standing there next to a male counterpart, and they take him for the position. And it said, and she's like, I've been passed over 3 times now. And it says, join this outsourcing job group, because we'll make sure that as a woman, you get picked first. I shit you not. That was the ad.
This is modern day damsel in distress. Like, all these people who claim to hate the damsel in distress routine, that is exactly what this is. This is modern day damsel in distress. That's all this is. Exactly, Purple Valkyrie. Like, the idea that you're going to get hired because you're a girl, that is, you are being catered to because you are a girl, because you are a woman. That is modern day damsel in distress. Well, we're going to, you need us to lift you up and to help you, and so here we are to rescue you from the dragon that is toxic masculinity. That is what this is. So either they need to pick a lane. Either, gender, sex, whatever, has nothing to do with anything, or it has everything to do with everything. That is what this boils down to. Because you can't say that, oh, toxic masculinity, poor me, you need to raise me up because I'm a woman, and then in the next breath say, oh, well, you're oppressing me because I'm a woman, and when you do these things, it's harmful for me. Like, no, pick a lane. Pick a lane. The two are mutually exclusive. Either you accept mentorship and help and advice from people who are more experienced than you, even if they're male, or you don't. They're mutually exclusive. You don't get both.
No, you don't get both. No, and there should not be any distinction. When we talk about equality here, we're not talking about one person needs to be over anyone else. Nope. Best person gets the job.
Yep.
And if you're not that person, look at your work ethic. You may not have done anything wrong, but you may not be doing something right either. There's always that possibility that this person could have gone the extra mile to get the job and you didn't. So look at that and know the next time I need to bring my game.
Exactly.
I've done this YouTube thing 3 times. The first time was completely for a community that I was a part of. I made community videos, I made game videos, and I never took it seriously. The second time was for my own community that pretty much was the exact same thing. Game videos, fleet videos, and it was for fun. This has been different. The third time has been different. I am giving this everything I've got. I'm here every day. I do not take sick days. I'm here in the morning. I'm here Tuesday and Thursday nights. I've got a dedicated game stream on Wednesday and Sunday. Plus, I'm doing bonus game streams randomly throughout the week. I'm giving this everything I have.
You had Ghost of Tsushima pop up randomly on Friday. I was like, oh, this is a treat.
Oh, yesterday was really good because I've really gotten into it and I can take on like 8 guys now without getting hit, and I'm absolutely loving that. I have figured out the dynamics of combat in that game, and I absolutely love it when I've cut down 8 people and I flick the blood off my blade and sheath it. I'm like, oh yes, and then bow like, oh, you have done well, samurai. I absolutely love it. And I'm having fun, but I'm working my butt off too. And when you give something everything you've got, that's when things happen.
Yes, exactly. Even if it's something that you don't necessarily love, but it is a precursor to getting where you need to be so you can do what you love. I mean, there's so much possibility out there. And for something do you think that the brain surgeons or the neurologists, the epidemiologists, any of those professions, do you think that they thought that they would walk out of medical school and be the top surgeon in the country or the world or in their particular area, the next day? No, that takes patience. It takes residency. You have to build, you have to work, you have to lay the foundation. And when these people who use different things like the comic industry as stepping stones because they see something better than that, then that is where the problem comes in. You should put 100% of your effort into whatever it is you're doing and add value to it, because if you are adding value to something, you're going to get value out of it. But when you treat it as, just a job or just something to do, or, this is just to pass the time until I make my big break, then of course you're not going to get anything out of it. But if you treat it with even a modicum of respect and you pour some of your soul and talent into it, not only is it going to feed back to you, but you are also likely going to inspire other people who are like, wow, look at what Loki's doing. Look at what he did when he got through school and was working 60 hours a week and couldn't be there for his little girl even though he really wanted to. These people don't realize that you can't always get what you want simply because you want it. It's just not how the world works. And throwing a temper tantrum, never. That's something that I tell my kids. I was like, go ahead, throw a fit. See if that helps you at all. I promise you it won't. It's going to make the situation worse for you.
It's true. And thank you, Pudgy. Thank you for the redeemed anytime day off, Pudgy. Thank you.
Thank you, Pudgy.
I got some compliments on the outro video. The outro video that I do for my patrons. Guys, that is 20 years of video editing. And I did that on my own. I was never taught that. I never went to school for that. I used to do remembrance videos for people because they were like, oh, that is so touching. That is so sweet that you put that together. And that was just something I enjoyed. I enjoyed video editing. It was a hobby. And 20 years later, after doing remembrance videos, Star Trek videos, fleet videos, clan videos, no matter what I was doing, I was doing some kind of video for it. I've gotten a real, oh, this would look really cool here to this music and play like this and titled like this. And, oh, I can throw this effect in here and it will look really cool. It's just something I've done on the side that I really enjoy. And I like to think that, if it takes me 6 or 8 hours to put something together, it's worth it. It's something I've worked hard at, and I enjoy doing it. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that when you're younger? Hey, I enjoy doing this. Why not make a job out of it?
Yeah. Who would have thought? There always had to be a first, though.
Yeah.
And that's what blows my mind is all of these people, the whole Captain Marvel, like, oh, first female super, like, hold on, first female superhero movie, what are you talking about? That's not even close to accurate. All these people want to claim these, oh, we were the first, we were the first, we were the first, when in reality, no, they were not. Someone had to be the first, but what you are doing is not anywhere close to being the first. There is a vast history that you, whether you like it or not, are building off of. And simply because you want to destroy it and, make it seem unimportant or make people forget about it, destruction is not more powerful than creation. It's just easier. And it's because it takes soul and patience and love to create something. It takes nothing to try and destroy. Absolutely nothing.
And I think Spock said that as well. Spock, of all people, said that it's much easier to destroy than it is to create.
Absolutely. And it's just, those are things that stick with you. You know, you think about it, you're like, wow. And that's why, you know, you have all these other YouTubers out there who bash Comicsgate, who bash Ethan. They are so busy in their hate. They are so caught up in this sinkhole of hate that they don't even realize that they're drowning and that their hate is consuming them. And when you add that to the fact that people don't want to hear this, oh, I'll let you do the tip.
Oh no, go ahead, finish, please.
Okay. But when you don't even take into consideration, people don't want to hear. Like, does everybody get angry? Absolutely. Do people get fed up? Of course. But at the end of the day, most people want inspiration. They want to be uplifted. They want some kind of inspiration to pull them out of their own darkness, which is why escapism is so important to mental health. And when you outright reject people who are attempting to find a way out of the darkness, they aren't going to support you. They aren't going to stay with you. They don't want to listen to you every day tear down Nerdrotic or Doomcock or you, Loki, or any of these other creators who don't do that. They don't sit there and tear other people down. They don't sit there and, you know, spend their entire existence on their channel trying to tear everything down. They want to create content. They want some place for people to go where they know that there's an outlet for their anger, but also a spark for their inspiration.
Yes. And guys, that is why I appreciate the opportunity that YouTube has given me. And I've said that before. People can bitch about the platform. That is their right. They can say whatever they want to about the platform. Platform screwing them. Platform's doing this. Platform's doing that. It is still giving you the opportunity to create something very, very special. And thank you so much, Yodam Darkstar. Thank you, brother. And we're going to give you a big skull. 1, 2, 3. Skull!
Whoa!
There it is! Take your hat off, boy. That's a $1 bill.
You know, I absolutely love that. That is one of my best ideas. Take your hat off, boy. That's a $1 bill. Yodam does not say anything, but thank you very much, Yodam Darkstar. Thank you, brother. Thank you so very much. It's an honor to be here with you guys, and it's an honor to have you here in the mornings. I wanted to do something special in the mornings, and you guys make it that much more special. So thank you.
We appreciate what you do for us, Loki.
Well, I appreciate you guys so very much, you guys and gals out there that are here with me every morning and that come to listen to a talk show, a morning show that I had hoped people would be like, oh, crank that up in the morning on the way to work and listen to it on the way to work and kind of hang out and chat. And thank you. It's humbling to see all the support and all the love that you guys have shown. I really do appreciate it. Do you think that Dynomite will recover from this? Well, I know we've gone over an hour, guys, and I'm not going to go much longer, but Lady Gravemaster, do you think that Dynomite can recover from this? Or do you think that, because I didn't even I wanted to get to this, guys. They have pulled all of the promotions, whether it was Indiegogo who pulled them, I do not know that yet. Whether it was Dynomite that pulled them, I don't know, because they're not saying anything. Nobody's saying anything. This was reported last night. I know 24/7 covered this, and Bounding into Comics alerted everyone to this. You cannot pull up the campaigns, and Cecil's is closed. Cecil's campaign is closed, and people are being refunded now. Do you think they can recover from this?
Honestly, you know, we said it earlier, with enough hard work and dedication, yeah, I think that they honestly could. recover from it, but it's going to take a lot, because this is not only does this call into question the who, but it also, the why of it. Like you said, you don't know, was it Dynamite? Was it Indiegogo? And if it was Dynamite, why would they put all of their campaigns under review? Why would they do that? That one of the things that they alluded to was that, the two of them had talked and neither one of them had realized that it would be so polarizing. That is hard to take as anything of value, because if you are aware of Cecil and his work, then you're also generally going to be aware of the critics. Now, yeah, I know that not every, you can't keep a tab on everything that's happening, but there are several things that at least should have alluded and alerted you to the fact that, hey, there are specific people that aren't a fan of Cecil's, and they might have a reaction to you having a campaign with them. Even if it is a variant cover, but this was a chance for them to say no, and they didn't take it. This was a chance for them to crush the power of the Whisper Network, and all they did was embolden it. And I think that it's going to really take something equally as, I don't want to say virtue signaling, but something is equally large to help them to recover.
Yeah,
I mean, if they take... Oh, go ahead.
Cecil's one of us. He really is. He is just an everyday guy that has had a very, very successful, I almost said Cecil campaign, successful campaign to bring himself into the forefront.
Yeah.
And he has. He has shown that if you work hard and you dedicate yourself to a mission, you can accomplish that mission.
Absolutely. And it's heartbreaking to think that simply because he's not the right kind of person, I know you couldn't see me do the air quotes, but I did. But because he's not the right kind of person, that somehow, that means that all of his work and all of his merit and all of his talent isn't something that deserves to be highlighted in a campaign by the industry. And that is where these people, that's why the comic industry is failing. When you try to curate your fan base, you're cutting yourself off at the knees. You cannot tell people, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Like, what? Why would your politics have anything to do? If it's not a political book, why do your politics have anything to do with your book?
Exactly.
It makes zero sense. And when you tell people that you don't need the opinions of 50-year-old white dudes because it wasn't made for them, or you don't need the opinion of straight white Christians because they're the world's largest hate group, or Ethan Van Sciver's getting death threats and saying that they hope he's in an accident and loses the ability to draw. Like, are you serious? And you want to say that we're evil simply because we just want good stories that are either completely apolitical or they show an equal balance of both sides.
Yeah, I remember I like James Gunn movies. I may not agree with his politics. I may not agree with things he says. I may not agree with a lot of things, but I really like his movies. Sue me. I like his movies.
Yeah.
I could care less what he does in his personal life as long as he's not going after certain underage people. I could really care less what he does.
But yeah, the way I word it is, whatever consenting adults decide to do behind closed doors, I don't care.
Yes.
That's your business.
Yes.
As long as you're not harming anybody or anything, that's on you. I don't care. I am neutral on that. And, you know, it's come to the point now where who you sleep with has a greater chance of you getting hired somewhere than how talented you are, which is just asinine.
Exactly. And 24/7 Fusion Media says this Dynomite situation puts Cecil's cash grab comic book to earn an extra $5,000 in just one day.
Boom.
I backed it.
Yep. I wasn't going to back it because I had already backed Literature Devils and the Umbrella Guys and EVS's, and I was like, I'm kind of strapped. I don't know if I can. And then this all happened, and I was like, and backing right now.
Yep. Exactly. And it is going to push Cecil even more to the forefront, because there was nothing wrong with that comic book cover.
None.
EVS's Cyberfrog Vampirilla cover was more risque than Cecil's cover.
Oh yeah.
So they just didn't go after Ethan because he's huge and they want that money.
Yep. And well, if I'm, and you know, Nerdrotic pointed it out on his Nooner the other day. Vampirilla is not making $500,000.
No.
Red Sonja's not making $500,000. They're not selling thousands of comic. Like, look at what these creators, Anna, Cecil, Umbrella Guy, EVS, Literature. Look at what all of these people are accomplishing outside of that box that they want, that the industry wants everybody in. And what they don't realize is that that box is what is holding them back right now. If they would just say, hey, you know what? This has been successful. We need to look at this from a strictly business viewpoint. This is what we need to do. This has been successful. We need to swallow our pride, reach out to them, and see where it takes us. If it's not successful, it's not successful. But it should be unsuccessful because of the content and not the creator. If the content is trashy, then, I mean, you know, then it's trashy. But if it's great, then why does it matter who the creator is or what they look like? It doesn't make any sense, business-wise or moral.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. And it reminds me of, there was a person that I worked with that got pissed off one night because he had to work with someone that did a walk-off one night, just walked off the job one night. And this guy had to work with this guy, and he threw a fit. I'm not working with this guy because he walked off. And the CEO said, are you telling me where I'm going to be assigning someone? And he thought about that for a second. He said, no, sir. And the Louis said, all right, yes, you are working with him tonight, but I will make sure in the future not to assign you to the same shift, but you will be working with him tonight. There was compromise. Why? Because the guy obviously was angry. He mouthed off and then thought about it and said, no, I'm not telling you what to do or how to assign people, sir. And it's that simple.
Yep.
The guy that writes Red Sonja said, after issue 24, I will not be returning because you are doing this. And you know what I tell him? Buck right off then. Quit. We will get someone better. Thank you. And they're not going to do that, obviously.
No, and I think because there's, for whatever reason, you know, fear is a really powerful, crippling effect on people. And if someone cultivates and nurtures that fear, it's going to consume you and take over your life. And until you stand up and say no, it's going to continue to have power over your life. But the problem is that these industry leaders, these studio execs, all of these people, I don't like to say that they like to call themselves influencers and such of the like. I don't really care for that term because when you refer to yourself as an influencer, that tells me that your ego is getting in the way of sound decision making. But they do have a powerful platform, and it does have the ability to influence. And when you have allowed that to be hijacked by fear and hatred and self-loathing, because, when I was this age I didn't do enough, and now I have to show and prove that I really am better than that. You're buying into something that isn't true. You know who you are. You know how you feel, and you know what you are a reflection of. Do we all have flaws? Of course. But to think that these companies, by hiring Cecil, are actively targeting a specific group to try and harm them is not only blatantly false, but it takes into consideration that you're doing exactly what you are accusing others of doing. You are looking at a group of people and saying they are not worthy of enjoying what is being produced or having criticisms about what's being produced. And if you notice the difference between the criticisms of Fandom Menace, CG, or just normal people, it's on the content. When it comes to these SJW types, they attack the creator. That's the difference.
I completely agree. And I want to thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing this with us. I've absolutely loved this. And you have to come back. You do know that. You have to come back.
Okay.
So
well, thank you for having me. It's been very humbling.
Oh, I love Taco Tuesdays, and I've absolutely loved having you here on Taco Tuesdays. It's humbling for me because you have made so many good points today. You have hit the nail squarely on the head of what the problem is. And the problem isn't us. Are there people out there that think that one race shouldn't have any access to something? Oh, yes, there is. But right now, the ones screaming that are the social justice warriors and the people doing these, people going against someone just trying to earn. That's all Cecil is trying to do, is earn. And Tommy threw out a comment that Cecil went out of his way, there it is, actually was going through this shit and still helped me out going through financial problems by purchasing from my eBay. Tommy, send me your eBay link at stone_Loki@hotmail.com, and I will look at your eBay as well. I know just what that's like. I was selling off stuff at a rapid pace just a couple of months ago just to stay afloat. And, I have all of you to thank for not being in that situation now. And before we go, Mexican Iron Man just tipped a $20 bill. Thank you so very much, Mexican Iron Man. And we'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, score!
There it is! It's you! Take your hat off, boy, that's a dollar bill!
And Mexican Iron Man says, "Hail to the righteous." I don't know if I'm righteous, but I'm going to bring the truth as best I can each and every day. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. Thank you so very much, brother. And again, Lady Gravemaster, thank you for being here. I know we ran long. We probably ran 20 minutes longer than I normally run. We're going to have a great show tonight, guys. We're going to hit Batman. Me, Mexican Iron Man, and 24/7 Fusion Media will be on tonight on 7 Kinds of Mischief at 7 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to talk the hell out of Batman. The movies, the anime, the comics. We're going to hit everything tonight at 7 for 7 Kinds of Mischief. So everyone out there, have a great and wonderful day. And we will catch you later tonight and tomorrow on Mornings of Mischief.
Bye, everyone.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.